Alright, this is lesson 52 for 8th grade, and today we're going to talk about unit multipliers, and we use those to convert different measures. And we've actually talked about this before, we saw it last year. Now we're just bringing it back, and then in a couple of weeks we're going to take it a step further, like we do with all of our content, and we'll go from there. But this is a good way to set up conversions, especially if we're not sure what to do just by looking at a question. This will help us set things up and get to the right answer in a nice way. We just kind of have to get used to the setting up part, which is the case with most of math. Alright, first of all, a unit multiplier is a ratio in which the numerator and denominator are equivalent measures but different units. For instance, if we look at 12 inches, we know that there are 12 inches in a foot, so 1 foot equals 12 inches. And we can write two unit multipliers with that, 12 inches over 1 foot, or 1 foot over 12 inches, doesn't matter. The thing is that each of these ratios equals 1, because the measures above and below the division bar are equivalent. So we know that 12 inches equals 1 foot, and when we have something over something that's the same, we get 1. And the thing is, when you multiply by 1, it doesn't change the quantity, okay? We can convert. It'll convert for us, but it's not going to change what we're dealing with. We might get a different unit, but it doesn't change. For instance, when we look at this, if we have a tree that's 64 inches tall, and we want to convert it to feet instead of inches, we'll still get a different unit, but we'll have the same height, just in different units. So you'll see what we're going to do here in a second. The other thing is that they're not always going to tell you to use this, 1 foot over 12 inches. We're going to have to learn how to set that up. But you always start with what they give you, 64 inches. And the reason they tell us to multiply by 1 foot over 12 inches is because we want to always put whatever we start with, inches goes in the bottom here, and we're trying to relate inches to feet. Okay, so that right there. And we know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, so that's why we get that. The reason why whatever you start with, unit-wise, so inches goes in the bottom here, is because units cancel out just like numbers would. So 64 inches and 12 inches, these will cancel out since we're multiplying. But what ends up happening, so it would be like taking 2 times 1/2. The 2's cancel out. Technically that's over 1, right? We could say this is over 1 too if we wanted to. We don't need to. But just like those 2's cancel out, so do units, and that's fine. That's the whole purpose of it. And you're left with feet. You want the thing that you're trying to get, that needs to be your last unit. And we want things in feet, so once we get to this point, we're like, okay, good, we want it in feet, and we'll be able to go from there. The other thing about this that's pretty nice is, now we can multiply by anything on top and divide by anything on the bottom. So 64 times 1 divided by 12, or 64 divided by 12 times 1. Excuse me, doesn't matter which way you do it. And remember, when you multiply by 1, nothing really changes. So really what we have here is 64 divided by 12. So let's take a look at that. We should get a mixed number. 12 goes into 60 5 times. We'll subtract, and we won't do the decimal. We'll go 5 and 4/12 feet, and 4/12 reduces to 1/3. So this would be 5 and 1/3 feet. Alright, and that's how we would convert that. So let's take a look at some of these other ones. Okay, we're going to skip this one, but we will do this one right here. So A certain double feature at a theater is 270 minutes long. Use a unit multiplier to convert 270 minutes to hours. So remember, always start with what they give you. 270 minutes. We're going to multiply that by a unit multiplier. Okay. And remember, whatever unit you start with goes in the bottom here. And we're trying to relate minutes to hours. And how do we relate minutes to hours? How many minutes are there in an hour? Well, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay. So now we can do that same rule again, where we divide by anything on the bottom, multiply by anything on the top. So really what we have here is 270 divided by 60. Right there. Alright, 60 goes into 270 4 times. 4 times 60, 240, subtract. So 4 and 30 over 60. Or 4.5 hours. So that's a long double feature there. 4.5 hours would be 270 minutes. Alright? Moving on, skip that one. Alright. Also, some units, like feet and inches, are used together to express the measure. For instance, Mr. Seymour is 6 foot 3 inches tall. To express Mr. Seymour's height with a single unit, we could give his height in inches, 75 inches, or in feet. And these are all different ways you can do it in feet. So you can convert to inches, get 75 inches, or 6 feet 3 inches is also 6 1/4 feet, or 6.25 feet if you convert to a decimal, because 3 inches is 1/4 of a foot. Okay, so those are some ways that you can represent his height as one unit, and that will come in handy for us. For instance, Sam drove 100 miles in an hour, and drove 100 miles in an hour and 45 minutes. It's like, wow, she was going very fast. How many hours did it take for Samantha to drive 100 miles? So they want us to take this and convert it to hours. We need to figure out how much. So we have 1 hour, but we also have 45 minutes to tag on there. So we got to convert 45 minutes to hours. Okay, and there are 60 minutes in an hour again. So really we have 45 divided by 60, or, and these cancel, so 45 out of 60. What we can do here is just reduce. We divide by 15, we get 3/4. So it should be 1 3/4 hours, or 1.75 hours. Either of those would be okay. Yeah. Alright. Remember, we had to add on to that 1 hour. 1 hour and 45 minutes would be 1 hour, or 1.75 hours, or 1 3/4 hours. Alright, let's just take one of these here. Check my time. See which one I want to do. Alright, let's do. This is a good one. We'll do the second one here. Okay. If you did this one's pretty quick. Represented as a mixed number and as a decimal. They want it in minutes. 30 seconds is half a minute, so it would be 7.5 minutes, or 7.5 minutes. Alright, so this one's a little more involved. Juan converts the length and width of the room from feet and inches to yards. A room that is 13 feet 6 inches long is how many yards long? So we'll look at that. We need to get it, first we need to get it into feet probably, I would say. So let's try that, or maybe we get it into inches. Maybe that would be a little better. Let's see what they did. Let's see which way they went. Okay, they went to feet first, that's fine. So we'll do feet. So 13 feet and 6 inches. Let's get it into feet. 6 inches, we need to get that into feet. So there are 12 inches and 1 foot. So we're going to get 6 over 12 feet, which equals 1/2 if you reduce. So 6 inches is half of a foot. So what we really have there is 13.5 feet. Or 13.5 feet. And now what we need to do is get that into yards. So I'm going to bring that over here, 13.5 feet. And whatever we start with comes down here. And we want to relate that, to yards. Marker is going dead. Alright, so feet are going to cancel out. We should be left with yards, but we have to relate it first. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. Okay, so it looks like we've got 13.5 divided by 3. And if we do that, I'm just going to do it on the calculator here. Looks like we get 4.5 yards. Alright, so we'll be spending some more time on this tomorrow. And like I said, in a week or two, we'll be getting into a little more complex unit multipliers where we do more than one step. But we're just going to do this for tomorrow. Alright, that's it.